church bells rang like a cruel joke. Each chime echoed through the marble halls of St. Aurelius Cathedral, vibrating against the stained glass windows that painted the aisle in shards of red and gold. The scent of white lilies hung thick in the air, too sweet, too suffocating, and at the entrance of the cathedral I stood still, uninvited, unwanted, unforgettable. My black heels clicked once against the polished floor as the heavy doors opened. 100 heads turned at the sound. Gasps rippled like wind through dry leaves, because the woman walking into my ex-fiancé's wedding was supposed to be broken. Instead, I looked lethal. My dress wasn't white. It was midnight silver, clinging to every curve like moonlight on steel. My hair fell in soft waves down my back, and my red lipstick was bold enough to start wars. I didn't come to beg. I came to watch at the altar. Daniel Whitmore, future alpha of the Silver Ridge Pack, froze mid-smile. The bride beside him, Vanessa, my former best friend, followed his gaze, and then she saw me. Her perfect smile cracked. Whispers started immediately. She has the nerve to show up. After he rejected her. Wasn't she the weak one, the wolfless girl? Yes. That's what they called me. Wolfless, useless, unfit to be Luna. Daniel had said those words himself 6 months ago when he rejected our mate bond in front of the entire pack. You are not strong enough to stand beside me, Elena. The memory burned like acid in my veins, but today I wasn't here as the rejected girl. I was here for closure, or maybe revenge. I walked down the aisle slowly, deliberately, not toward the altar, but to a seat in the very front row. The audacity of it made the elders shift uncomfortably. Daniel's jaw tightened. I saw the flicker of something in his eyes. Regret, no. Possessiveness. Even after rejecting me, some part of him still felt the ghost of the bond. Vanessa leaned toward him, whispering urgently. Her nails dug into his arm. Good. Let her feel threatened. The officiant cleared his throat, attempting to regain control. We are gathered here today to witness the sacred union between. The cathedral doors burst open again. But this time the sound wasn't polite. It was thunder. Heavy boots echoed against marble. A cold wind swept through the cathedral, extinguishing half the candles along the walls. The temperature dropped instantly, and then the scent hit. Dark cedarwood, night rain, power. Every wolf in the room stiffened. Some bowed instinctively, because only one being carried an aura like that, the Lycan King. He didn't walk in. He owned the space, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed in a tailored black suit that did nothing to hide the raw dominance radiating from him. His black hair was pushed back carelessly, sharp jawline dusted with shadow. His golden eyes glowed faintly predatory. Ancient King Cale Draven, ruler of all northern territories, feared by alphas, whispered about in legends. And he was walking straight down the aisle toward me. The entire room fell silent. Daniel stepped protectively in front of Vanessa. A ridiculous gesture. Cale didn't even glance at them. His gaze was locked on me. My heart betrayed me first. It skipped because I knew those eyes. I had seen them once before. 6 months ago, the night Daniel rejected me. The night I ran into the forest alone, humiliated and shattered. The night I almost died. I remembered collapsing against a tree, my wolf silent, my chest aching from the severed mate bond. And I remembered strong arms catching me before I hit the ground, golden eyes in the dark, a deep voice saying, "Easy, little flame." I had thought it was a hallucination, but it wasn't. Now he stood in front of me, in a cathedral full of wolves, at my ex's wedding, and he extended his hand. The tension was unbearable. Daniel growled low in his throat. "Your Majesty, this is a private ceremony." Cale's eyes flicked to him briefly. The air thickened. Be silent. The command wasn't loud, but it carried the weight of absolute authority. Daniel's growl died instantly. Vanessa looked seconds away from fainting. Cale's attention returned to me. He reached down slowly and brushed his thumb against my jaw, tilting my face up toward him. Every wolf in the room gasped. His touch was warm, familiar, claiming my queen, he said softly. The words detonated inside the cathedral. Shock slammed into every face. Daniel staggered back like he'd been punched. Vanessa whispered, "No, that's impossible." Cale didn't blink. His voice rang clearly through the sacred hall. My wife, the silence that followed was catastrophic. Because in wolf law, Lycan kings did not joke about mates. And they certainly did not call someone wife unless the bond had already been sealed. My breath trembled because this was not how I planned to destroy Daniel, but fate had sharper claws than revenge. Cale extended his hand again. Come, he murmured, low enough only I could hear. They've looked down on you long enough. The warmth of his palm was steady. Grounding, terrifying. If I took his hand, there was no turning back. No more being the rejected girl. No more being small. Daniel finally found his voice. Elena, what is this? What game are you playing? Game? I stood slowly, met Daniel's eyes, and for the first time since he rejected me, I felt nothing. No pain. No longing, only clarity. Then I placed my hand in King Cale Draven's. The moment our skin touched, a pulse of power exploded outward. Windows rattled, several lesser wolves dropped to their knees. A glowing mark ignited faintly on my wrist. The ancient sigil of the Lycan Queen. Vanessa screamed, Daniel went pale, and Cale leaned down, brushing his lips near my ear. Tell me, little flame, he whispered. Did you truly think I would let another man marry what is mine? My pulse roared in my ears. Because I had one terrifying realization. This wasn't revenge, this was destiny, and destiny had just claimed me in front of everyone. Cale turned to face the altar. His voice was ice. The ceremony is cancelled. Daniel's eyes flashed silver. You can't just. Cale's aura surged. The cathedral trembled. I can. Then he looked down at me, golden eyes softening slightly. Shall we go home, my queen? Home. I didn't know where that was anymore. But as he pulled me against his side, as every wolf in that cathedral stared in disbelief, I knew one thing. My life as the rejected Luna had ended, and something far more dangerous had just begun. The night the king chose me, the cathedral doors slammed shut behind us. The sound echoed like the final note of a funeral bell. Only it wasn't my death being mourned. It was Daniel's pride. Outside, the sky had darkened unnaturally fast. Thick clouds rolled above the city, swirling as if summoned by the Lycan King himself. A long black car waited at the bottom of the marble steps, royal insignia gleaming on its doors. Cale didn't release my hand. Not once. His grip wasn't painful. It was possessive, claiming. The crowd of pack members who had followed us outside stood frozen on either side of the staircase. Some bowed, others stared at me like I had grown fangs made of diamonds. Because somehow the rejected wolfless girl had just been named Queen of Lycans. Daniel stormed out moments later. Elena, he roared. His alpha aura pushed outward, strong enough to make lesser wolves tremble. It didn't even brush Cale. The Lycan King paused halfway down the steps, slow and deliberate. Then he turned. Golden eyes met silver. Predator versus pretender. Daniel's voice shook with fury. You think you can just take her? She was my mate. Cale's expression didn't change. She was, he agreed calmly. The emphasis on the past tense cut deeper than claws. Daniel's jaw clenched. She's nothing without a wolf. The insult hit, even after everything, even now. But before I could react, Cale's aura detonated. The air compressed violently. Daniel dropped to one knee. Gasps erupted from the crowd. You dare. Cale said softly, to speak of my wife that way. Wife. The word still felt unreal. Daniel tried to rise, shaking under the pressure. She doesn't even have a wolf. The bond is impossible. That was the question burning in every mind. I didn't have a wolf. I never shifted. Never heard the voice every other werewolf heard inside them. I was broken, wasn't I? Cale turned to me slowly, and in his eyes there was no doubt. Tell me. He murmured, brushing his thumb over the faint glowing sigil on my wrist. Do you feel it? I swallowed, because beneath my skin something was stirring. Not a wolf. Something older. Hotter, it felt like embers catching fire in my veins. Yes, I whispered. Cale smiled faintly. Daniel saw it. And panic flickered across his face. That's impossible, Daniel breathed. She would have shifted years ago. Cale's gaze hardened. She is not wolf. The words fell like a verdict. She is Lycan. The world tilted. Lycan, the original bloodline. Stronger, rarer, nearly extinct. Lycan females were said to awaken only when claimed by their true king. The whispers around us turned frantic. Daniel staggered back. No, she's from a minor pack. Her parents were ordinary wolves. Kale's eyes darkened slightly. Were they? My heart stopped. My parents had died when I was young. A rogue attack, they said. Nothing unusual. But Kale was looking at me like he knew something. Something I didn't. He stepped closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear. You were hidden. My pulse raced. Hidden from what? From those who would have killed you before your power awakened. Cold realization crept up my spine. Daniel wasn't staring at me anymore. He was staring at the mark glowing on my wrist, and I saw it. Regret? Pure, ugly regret. He had rejected me, publicly humiliated me, thrown away a mate bond because he believed I was weak. Now he understood. He hadn't rejected a powerless wolf. He had rejected a queen. Vanessa stumbled down the steps in her white gown, face streaked with tears. This is a lie, she screamed. You can't just steal someone's mate. Kale's gaze cut to her. Steal. His voice dropped dangerously low. The mate bond between her and Daniel was severed the moment he rejected her. Daniel flinched. You felt it die. Kale continued coolly. Do not pretend otherwise. He had. I remembered that night, the tearing pain, the silence that followed. Vanessa's hands shook. Then how is she your wife? Kale didn't look at her when he answered, because I marked her 6 months ago. The ground vanished beneath my feet. Marked, my fingers flew to my neck instinctively. There, just below my collarbone, a faint crescent-shaped scar I had never understood. The night in the forest, the night golden eyes had watched over me, the night I thought I was hallucinating. He hadn't just saved me, he had claimed me. Why, I breathed. Kale finally looked down at me fully. And for the first time, the king didn't look like a ruler. He looked like a man. You were dying, he said quietly. The rejected bond was shutting your body down. Your Lycan blood had not awakened yet. If I had not marked you, you would not have survived the night. My breath trembled. You didn't ask? His jaw tightened slightly. There was no time. Daniel let out a hollow laugh. So you forced a bond on her. Kale's head snapped toward him. I sealed what was already written. The air pulsed again, and suddenly pain ripped through me. I gasped, doubling over. Fire, liquid fire, surged through my veins. Kale caught me instantly. It's time, he said softly. Time for what? My back arched as something inside me roared awake. Not a wolf. Not the soft, distant presence others described. This was a storm, ancient, fierce female. I heard her voice clearly for the first time. Mine. Gasps filled the staircase as silver light flickered across my skin. Vanessa screamed again. Daniel whispered, horrified, she's shifting. But I wasn't losing control. I wasn't collapsing, I was rising. The fire didn't burn, it forged. My senses sharpened violently. I could hear heartbeats from across the courtyard. Smell fear, taste power in the air. Kale held me steady as the light faded. When I straightened, the world looked smaller. And everyone else looked fragile. The mark on my wrist glowed brilliantly before settling into a permanent silver crest. Kale searched my face carefully. How do you feel? I inhaled deeply. The air tasted like thunder, alive. A slow, satisfied smile touched his lips. Behind us, Daniel stared like he was watching a kingdom crumble. Because he was. I stepped forward on my own this time. No hesitation, no weakness. I looked at my ex-fee, An. Say one last time. You were right about one thing, I said calmly. His throat bobbed. I was never meant to stand beside you. His eyes filled with something desperate. Alina, but I was always meant to stand above you. Silence, absolute. Then I turned away. Kale opened the car door for me. Not as a king commanding a subject, but as a mate honoring his queen. Before stepping inside, I paused. Kale. His eyes softened slightly. Yes, little flame. My heart pounded, but not from fear, from the future unfolding. You said home. His gaze darkened with promise. Yes, I held his stare, then take me there. He shut the door gently once I was seated. As the car pulled away, I watched the cathedral grow smaller in the distance. Daniel stood frozen at the top of the steps, Vanessa clutching his arm, the wedding guests whispering. The life I thought I wanted, gone. Beside me, Kale's thigh brushed mine. Heat, power, danger, you're very quiet, he murmured. I turned to him slowly. You marked me without telling me. His jaw tightened slightly. Yes, and now I'm your queen, if you choose to be. I studied him carefully. For all his dominance, he wasn't forcing me now. The choice was real. The power humming in my veins agreed. This wasn't a cage. It was a throne. I leaned back against the leather seat. And if I refuse, his golden eyes glinted. Then I will spend the rest of my immortal life convincing you. My lips curved faintly. Immortal king. Marked hidden bloodline. Everything I believed about myself had just shattered. And somehow I wasn't afraid. I was curious. The city lights blurred outside the window as we crossed into darker territory. Forests, mountains, north, his kingdom. Kale reached for my hand again. This time I didn't hesitate, and somewhere deep inside me my Lycan purred. Secrets of the Lycan blood. The car roared through the night, tires cutting through puddles as rain began to fall. The city lights blurred into streaks of gold and silver, but inside the vehicle, the world felt still, intimate, and charged with something raw. Gale's hand didn't leave mine. Every pulse of his golden gaze seemed to scan me, reading my fears, my power, my heartbeat. I felt exposed, yet protected, a contradiction I couldn't untangle. You feel it, don't you? He asked quietly, his voice low enough that only I could hear. I nodded, gripping his hand tighter, something burning inside me. I've never felt like this before. That's your Lycan awakening, he said, voice almost reverent. It's ancient, stronger than any wolf bond. You are not just a queen, you are the first of your bloodline in centuries. That power, it could destroy kingdoms. I swallowed, shivers crawling up my spine. Then why didn't anyone tell me? Kale's jaw tightened, his gaze flickering toward the road. Because those who knew feared what would happen if you learned too soon. Some would have killed you before you could rise. My mind raced. My parents, the attacked Kale said I was hidden. Was that true? Was my life orchestrated by fate, or by him? You were saved for a reason, Kale continued, his thumb brushing over the glowing sigil on my wrist. And now that the bond is sealed, there's no turning back. You belong to me, Alina, in every sense. The words were possessive, intoxicating. My pulse quickened, and I realized with a mixture of fear and thrill that my body responded as if it had been waiting for this moment its whole life. The car slowed as we approached a massive gate, wrought iron curling like claws, embedded with silver sigils that glimmered faintly in the rain. Beyond it, the Draven Castle loomed, a fortress carved into the mountains, shadows stretching across its towers like dark sentinels. Kale led me out of the car, his hand warm and steady. The rain soaked my hair, but I didn't care. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside me. As we entered, the castle seemed alive. Faint growls resonated from hidden corridors, and the scent of wolf musk hung thickly in the air. Wolves, real wolves, pack members no older, larger, alphas, warriors, all of them pausing as Kale and I passed. Some bowed, others simply froze, respect, fear, and awe mixing in their golden eyes. Kale stopped in a grand hall, lined with banners depicting the Draven sigil, a black wolf wrapped around a crescent moon. Firelight danced across the walls. He turned to me, his expression unreadable, and finally, his touch softened, almost hesitant. There's something you need to understand, he said. Your awakening is only the beginning. Powers you never knew you had are stirring. The bond between us, it will grow, but so will the dangers. Enemies will come. Those who feared the rise of your bloodline will stop at nothing. I swallowed, trembling. I've been rejected before, humiliated. How am I supposed to survive something like that? Kale's eyes softened, and he lifted my chin. Because you are not that girl anymore. The Alina who walked into that wedding, she's gone. What remains is Queen Alina, stronger, fierce, untouchable, and she will rise not alone, but with me. The words settled in my chest like fire. Not a fire that burned me, but a fire that empowered me. I had been weak, invisible, unnoticed. Not anymore. Kale stepped closer, his golden eyes never leaving mine. Rest now. Tomorrow I will show you the full truth about your lineage, the enemies we face, and the power you hold. The castle seemed to hum with energy, the walls themselves vibrating subtly under the weight of what was to come. As Kale led me to a chamber, I realized I had no idea what awaited me. Wolves, enemies, secrets, even the force of destiny itself. Yet, for the first time in my life, fear was no longer my master. Curiosity, hunger, and raw excitement coursed through me instead. When the door closed behind us, sealing the storm outside, Kale's eyes softened once more. "Sleep, little flame," he murmured. "Tomorrow, the world will learn why the Lycan King claimed his queen." I let myself sink onto the bed, body still humming with the mark of our bond. Sleep threatened, but my mind raced. The Lycan King, my power, the enemies that awaited, and something deeper, unspoken, twisting in my chest desire. I didn't just belong to Kale. I wanted him, every inch of him, and the bond. The fire had only just begun. Awakening the fire, the first light of dawn filtered through the tall windows of Draven Castle, painting the room in shades of gold and gray. I had barely slept, not because of the bed, which was enormous and draped in black silk, but because of the pulse of power still thrumming beneath my skin. Kale was already awake, standing by the window, watching the distant forests. His silhouette was commanding, untouchable, yet somehow tethered to me by the bond that hummed between us. "You're awake," he murmured without turning. His voice was low, velvet and steel intertwined. I couldn't sleep, I admitted. My own voice sounded strange to me. Strong, confident, almost foreign. It's everything. The power inside me, the bond, the fact that my life is nothing like I thought it would be. He finally turned, golden eyes piercing, unwavering. "You are not like any girl, Elena, and that is exactly why you survived." I rose from the bed, feeling the faint tug of my newly awakened Lycan blood. My hands itched to touch, to test, to feel the surge of ancient energy that had lain dormant inside me. "Show me," I demanded, almost without thinking. "Show me what I can do." Kale's lips quirked into a faint, knowing smile. "As you wish." He guided me into the training hall, a cavernous space deep in the castle, its high ceilings lined with silver chandeliers, banners of black wolves swaying gently as if stirred by unseen winds. The scent of wet earth, fire, and wolf musk hung thick. "You will need control," Kale said, stepping back, allowing space between us. "Your blood is ancient. It does not bend easily to mortal will. Let it awaken, but do not let it consume you." I nodded, taking a deep breath. Closing my eyes, I focused inward. The power beneath my skin was like a storm trapped in a cage, electric and wild. A low growl rose in my chest, my Lycan speaking, testing, calling. A surge of golden light burst through my palms, and the room trembled. Kale didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped closer, guiding my energy, steadying the fire within. "You are more than a wolf," he said. "You are a queen. Feel it, own it." The light intensified, enveloping me, and for a brief moment, I saw visions, forests ablaze under moonlight, mountains trembling, enemies lurking in shadow, and wolves bowing before a golden sigil. "Burned into the sky," I gasped, stumbling back. My body ached with power, yet I felt alive in a way I never had before. Kale caught my wrist. His touch grounded me. "Good," he said. "Now open your eyes. Look at me, Elena. Your fire is mine as much as it is yours. Together we are unstoppable." I opened my eyes. The golden glow lingered faintly around my palms. My heart raced. My Lycan hummed, deep and ancient, answering to Kale's presence as well as mine. "Enemies will come," Kale murmured, voice low and dangerous. "There are those who will never accept a Lycan queen, and they will try to take what is mine, what is ours." I looked at him, fierce, unafraid. "Let them come. I'm ready." His lips curved into a predator's smile, sharp and captivating. "As you should be, but power is nothing without desire, without the bond that ties us." The heat in his gaze made my breath catch. I felt it deep in my chest, a pull, a tether, a fire that was no longer only mine. Kale stepped closer, golden eyes locked on mine. His hand brushed my cheek, thumb grazing my jawline. "Tonight," he whispered, voice heavy with promise, "I will teach you more than control. I will teach you what it means to be queen and mine." A shiver ran down my spine, part fear, part anticipation. The Lycan within me stirred, excited, dangerous, alive. For the first time, I understood. This bond wasn't just about power. It was about possession, desire, destiny. And I had been chosen to wield it. The castle doors rumbled as a distant howl echoed from the forest, the first of many warnings. Our enemies were awakening. The world beyond Draven Castle would soon know. The Lycan King had claimed his queen, and nothing would ever be the same. I stepped closer to Kale, golden light lingering faintly around us both. "Teach me," I whispered, my voice steady, my resolve absolute. He captured my lips in a kiss that tasted of fire and authority, fierce and claiming. And in that moment I realized the truth. I was no longer the girl who had walked into a wedding. I was queen, and I was ready to rise.